Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Positive Voice Podcast. I am your host, Coach Chef Kim, and I am so excited that you are listening and tuning into this particular episode. What I want to talk about today is I was having a conversation with my interns this week, and one of them mentioned leveling up and how in this conversation, another intern, I have two, one of my interns said, it's incredible how you say something and then the universe gives it to you. And then the other intern was like, yeah, I cannot wait till I get to that point where I can level up. And so I thought about it, and my first answer was like, well, it's not hard, like, just do it. And then I was like, no, Kimberly, you know that's not how this works. It is how it works, but like most people can't register that in their brains. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna film a podcast episode so that I can tell you my process on what I do in this, what most people would call leveling up, right? So let's kind of get into how I make these things happen. Number one, the first thing that I had to go through, and let's remember, right, I started my journey 3 years ago with mindset and mindfulness. And it came out of making sure I was okay after going through major life experiences. So I went to therapy, had a lovely therapist. I was in therapy for a couple of months before she told me I was thriving in life and didn't need her. And I was like, oh, I didn't know therapists could do that. But evidently they can. And so one of the first things that I had to learn how to do was start this mindfulness journey. So on this mindfulness journey, it required me to go inside. And so one of the very, very first things that I learned, and one of the first takeaways from this, is I no longer need external validation. All right. So on my mindfulness journey, I had to learn how to go inward. I had to learn who Kimberly was. I had to discover what was next for me. When you go through major life changes like a divorce, the life that you thought you were going to have, you're no longer going to have it. And so I found myself kind of sitting at a crossroads of, well, what is next? And someone, like a friend of mine at the time, was like, well, what do you want? Like, because I was like, I don't know what's next. And he was like, well, what do you want? Like, you are the author of this story. What's happening next in your life? And so I realized in that moment, I really was the author of this story. And that not only did I get to decide what was next, I got to change my mind, right? Like if I started imagining all these different things, I was like, well, maybe I'll be an author, or maybe I'll go back to school and get another degree, or maybe I'll start teaching. Maybe I will, I don't know, get a job in corporate America. Maybe I will, open up a school. All these different things, all these different scenarios were played out in my mind of like, what do we do next? And so what that did was it unlocked my imagination. So remember, this is a mindfulness journey. In the mindfulness journey, you have to go inside. So I went inside of my mind, and in my mind, we unlocked my imagination. That was number one. All right, so now that my imagination is unlocked, in my mind, I believe I can do anything. In my mind, I believe I am equipped for whatever I dream up. And if I can dream it, I can achieve it. Okay. So it's been approximately a year since I was driving back from Miami and made the decision that I want to be a coach. I didn't necessarily know what that meant. I didn't know how to do it, but I knew on that drive home, I wanted to be a coach. And so I started researching it. And over the course of the last year, I started one program. That school is closing. So now I'm getting a PhD. This PhD, and I'm 100% positive that because of the first program that I enrolled in, it was a no-brainer for me to move into this PhD program because it just took what I was already learning and went deeper. And so now I'm at a place in my life where I can receive that, right? A year ago, if I had found the school that I'm going to be getting a doctoral degree from, I would not have been in a position to receive it. I would have looked at the program and been like, there is absolutely no way that I am about to spend the next several years studying mindfulness, studying meditation, studying mindful eating, studying hypnosis, studying how to help people overcome their trauma, studying how to just help people move forward. You could not have told me that's what I would be doing a year ago, right? I wasn't in a place to receive it. But when everything happened in March of this year, I was absolutely in a place to receive this program, which is how within the course of 9 days, I went from not knowing they existed to being in a TikTok hole, to following this girl on Instagram, to going to her website, to enrolling in the school, and then reaching out to her and finding out we're going to be in class together. Like, you could not have paid me to believe that this would be my life, right? So I was open to receiving, and I'm still open to receiving. And so there's a lot of things. What kind of sparked this conversation in the first place was one of my interns about a week ago said, I think that we should offer a particular type of programming once a month. I feel like this is something you should be doing. And I wasn't against it. I was like, I'm going to add it to the list. I'll add it to the wall where I do my brain dumps. I'll add it there. And let's just see. Let's just see what happens. If you know me personally, and even if you don't know me personally, I'm a Virgo. I'm a Virgo about to get a PhD. I am not only an overachiever. Yes, I know that's a trauma response. I'm aware. Not only am I an overachiever, but I'm a freaking perfectionist. Okay? So if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. I'm going to rewrite what you thought a high standard was. That is just who I am. Okay? All right, cool. So I was like, I would love to offer this program that you say people need. But I immediately went into my head. And as soon as I felt myself start thinking about this, like I started overthinking about it. And I was like, oh, girl, just put a pin in it and move on. So I don't overthink things. And when I catch myself overthinking, I stop. And I will write it down and I move on. If it comes back up, then that means it's something I need to give my attention to. But I'm not going to stop my life and start overthinking about something in the moment. Okay? So take that note too. Don't overthink your life. So I got an email. And the email is from the new school. And the new school is offering a 3-hour, 1 hour a week for 3 weeks training program. That's literally what they asked me to do. And so I like copy and paste this email and drop it over into our intern chat. And they're like, how? We literally just had this conversation a couple days ago when you was like, I'm gonna put a pin in it and we'll revisit it. Like, how is this happening? And I was like, well, I don't overthink things, right? Like, I can only imagine if I had stayed in my head when she first presented this to me, because it's something I would love to do, but I was like, I would love to see it done, right? Like, I want to see somebody else do this. I want to find a YouTube video where somebody else is doing this or something. Like, I want to see what this looks like before I do it. And I don't even have to do that. Like, Monday, this is happening literally. It's Friday when I'm recording this. This is going to happen in 3 days, right? Like, this training program is literally happening on Monday. And so I was like, wow. All I knew was when she told it to me and I wrote it down, I wrote, maybe this is something for June to begin offering people. Maybe July. Well, it's absolutely going to be something I offer in June or July, because I would have gone through the training program in May in order to do it. So here's kind of how this looks. And my son is the same way. Marshall used to tweet out things and like, I want to meet this person, or I would love to interview this person, or I can't wait to work with this person. And my son started doing this around 14, 15, tweeting things out. It would get back to these people. And every single person that my son said they wanted to work with, they wanted to get to know, in the last 6, 7 years, Marshall has randomly been in the elevator with one. This week, randomly saw one coming out of an elevator this week. Had drinks with one a couple of weeks ago in Atlanta. Like, the kid just always was like, this is what I want, and stood 10 toes down with it. It was like, this is what I want. And so that's just how we've been. And so for me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to speak it, right? Like, some things I speak, some things I journal, some things I write down. Some things I riff. So let me explain that so that people understand. Let me walk you through this process, because I'm looking at the wall right now. And on the wall, it says Manifesting 101. I probably wrote this maybe a year ago. I don't know if this is still my full script. I think my script's a little more mature now, but this works. So as far as me manifesting things, like what helped me get to this point of being able to just say, this is what I want. It says call in as step number 1. I'm calling in my next level life. I'm upgrading my life. I'm manifesting unlimited access to creative energy. So that's what I wrote out. That had to have been at least a year and a half ago. I'm feeling 2021 in my soul. I wish I would have put a date on it. But anyway, this is what's on the wall. So if you need like a 3-step process, it's a 3-step process. Call it in, right? Like, you need to speak this thing into existence. So I am calling in my next level life. And what is your next level life? I'm real specific. I know where I'm going. Okay. I know that Dr. Kimberly Houston is going to happen. I knew that Dr. Kimberly Houston was a thing a decade ago. It didn't make sense to me that I had a dream that I got a PhD and my name was Dr. Kimberly Houston. Nothing about that made any sense, particularly because in the last decade, I got married and my name changed, right? So I was like, oh, well, maybe I was just tripping and it was just a dream. Didn't know. Fast forwarding, literally a decade later, I am now again Kimberly Houston. So Dr. Kimberly Houston was something that I dreamed about over a decade ago, but I didn't know what it entailed. Now that I am at this point of starting the doctoral program, it makes sense to me, right? Well, but now the title's longer. So Dr. Coach Chef Kim as a whole thing. And even before I went to culinary school, the Dr. Kimberly Houston was a thing. But then I went to culinary school, right? And then I got a master's degree in education. And now I'm getting a doctoral degree in mind body medicine. All of this has happened in the past 10 years, okay? So call in that next level life. What does it look like? Write it down. Who are you going to be in 5 years? I know that for me, there will be multiple books published, and not even just books published. In the next 5 years, I will be a New York Times best-selling author at least once, if not twice, in the next 5 years. Because I know this is what's going to happen, right? So I know that in order for me to be a New York Times best-selling author, number one, there is math you have to do in order to do that. Unintentionally, there was a gentleman talking to me about being a New York Times best-selling author. Like, he asked me what were my dreams and goals or whatever, and I told him, and he was like, do you know how to become one? And I was like, I don't know, I guess somebody likes your book or something and you get on it. And he's like, no, you need to sell a particular number of copies within a certain amount of time in order for you to become a New York Times best-selling author. So that is a strategic plan. You don't just go by happenstance and become a New York Times best-selling author. I didn't know that, so I learned something new, right? Like, boom, all right, I'm gonna take that mental note. So, boom, I am aware that there's a strategic plan that needs to be in place, which means there needs to be a team in place in order to make sure that this goes down the way it needs to go down. So I'm aware that I want to be a New York Times best-selling author. Okay, that's one. Two, I will also be a highly regarded and notable influence in the mindfulness space. Whether that means I have discovered something new in my research, I feel it in my gut that I will. And once I flesh out what this is going to actually look like, I'm about 100% positive that the thinking that I have that led me to this doctoral program that is going to kind of drive my research over the next couple of years, there's something there. And so, am I aware that I will be a notable person? Yes. Okay, so that's two. Three, more than likely I'll end up being a professor. So we're talking college level teaching. All right. So Dr. Houston will teach on college campuses. She will be a New York Times best-selling author, and she will be paid to travel the world teaching other people. Now, I am also a Le Cordon Bleu trained chef, right? I am not leaving that piece of who I am out of the equation. My research will also include what happens in the kitchen. It will include a component of community-based happenings. I don't know what to call this yet, but there is something there around the community, the family coming together in the kitchen, healing generations of people. Okay. That is who Dr. Kimberly Houston will be. Bare minimum. On the lowest level possible, that is who she will be in 5 years, which sounds great and incredible, right? So even working with that, just on the bare minimum, me calling in my next level life, I know that my next level life includes me having the title Dr. Kimberly Houston. It includes me having multiple books. It includes me having a book tour. It includes me having audiobooks. It includes me having workbooks. It includes me having cookbooks. And it includes me having curriculum that other people can use to engage families in the kitchen to heal generational trauma. All right, now track with me on this. That's what I'm calling in. I'm calling in my next level life because that is my next level life. That is who we are becoming. Okay, so step 2 is be intentional. On being intentional, and remember, this is me looking at what's on my wall from 2021. It says, I'm open to receiving my forever love. This was a big one. And my ideal client wants to work with me more than I want to work with them. So whenever I create a course or a book or a workbook or a guidebook, I always use the mantra, my ideal client wants to work with me more than I want to work with them. Number one, it takes the pressure off of me to feel like I have to try and force feed people my information. I don't do that. Even when I had my bakery, it was word of mouth. I didn't do advertising. I didn't do a whole lot of pop-up shops, and I didn't do any of that. I was word of mouth and my business was thriving. As a photographer, again, the majority of my first clients, it was word of mouth. Somebody took a chance on me. They really liked what I was doing. They started telling other people, and bloggers talk, right? So it just kept going and going and going and going. And so I've been very successful as a photographer. When I decided to start coaching, one more time, word of mouth. Okay, I told a friend, this is something I want to do. She was like, oh my God, yes, I've been waiting on you to say this. Let's do an Instagram live. We do an Instagram live. Lots of people see it. Again, another word of mouth situation where my first 25 clients come in. They're all from her audience. Okay, so I've been very, very intentional about all the things that I'm doing, kind of like leaving breadcrumbs, right? You're leaving a trail. And so I've been doing that for a very long time. Be intentional about what you're doing. So what am I doing right now? Let's talk about that. So in order for me to reach my next level life, I have to do things right now that future me needs me to do. So if future me is going to be notable in the realm of psychology and mind body medicine and healing generational trauma, if future me is a name, she is a person that people know, she is a person that people quote, her books are used to teach lectures. If future me is on that level, that means that I, in present day, have to do things to make sure that future me can get those accolades. So what does that look like? Number one, during orientation this week, while we were going through all the different departments, the writing center said, we're hiring right now. I sent an email while we were still on the Zoom. Please tell me what this entails. Do you all offer training? Like, what does this look like? And am I going to actively figure out how to become a person who works for the writing center of my graduate university? Yeah. Here's why. Because when you're like, okay, yeah, you work in the writing center, you're going to grade people's papers. Yes. Here's my thought. If it is my job to fully understand APA formatting, to be able to help other people write their papers, to be able to help people who are working on their dissertations, to be able to help people who are doing mind-blowing research in the field of mindfulness and mind-body medicine and hypnosis and psychedelics and all these other things. If I work in a writing center, they're going to train me on how to do this, which means I'm growing my skill set. But then this skill set that I'm learning is going to be something that helps me get published in academic journals. Future me, the professor, the New York Times bestseller, has to have an elevated style of writing. What better way to have an elevated style of writing than to work in the writing center and to be paid to learn how to level up? Okay, so that's one part of me being intentional. Part number two, that means I have to create content now that future me can rely on, right? So as I am recording this podcast right now, I'm also recording the podcast on my cell phone. Why am I doing that? Glad you asked. Here's why. When I post it, it will be posted on my podcasting network, where it will go out to all the different podcasting channels. It will be on YouTube. There's an AI program that you can take your YouTube videos and you can literally just copy the link, put it into an AI program, and then it chops up your videos and edits them for Reels, edits them for TikToks, edits them as, all these little short form video, YouTube shorts, etc. I am going to take that content and I'm going to put it on the internet. The reason I'm doing that is, if you need to know me in 5 years, that means I need to be searchable. That means when you Google Dr. Kimberly Houston, it needs to show you information about me. I can't be a nobody. How are people going to know that they need to book me for a TED Talk if they don't know I exist? How are people going to know that they should book me to come speak to their classroom if they've never heard me speak? How are people going to know that I am available and Kimberly in the future is a New York Times best-selling author who gets paid to speak around the world? How are people going to know that she exists if she never shows up? And so I can't wait for 5 years. I can't wait until I have the doctoral degree to show up. The doctoral degree is literally just a piece of paper that's going to show them that I have a particular set of skills and qualifications. But the person that they want on their stage already exists, and she exists right now. Well, since I can't be paid $10,000 to come speak on your stage in this moment, what I can do is sit in my house, create the content to put on the internet so that when people begin to look for me, they'll be able to find me. Right? So I'm being intentional. I'm doing things right now in this season. I'm planting seeds that will be harvested in another. So that is number two. So number one in this manifesting 101, number one is calling in your next level life. That means you need to know where you're going. Okay. Listen, my friend Oprah, we're not friends, but in my head, we're best friends. Okay. Listen, me and my BFF Oprah, we got something in common. There is a video of Oprah going around on Instagram right now where I think Jimmy Fallon asked her, why are some people successful, other people are not? And she said successful people know what they want out of life. They know where they're going. I agree with that. If you don't know where you're going, you're always going to feel stuck. If you don't know where you're going, you're always going to be a procrastinator. I'm sorry, let me change how I said that. Because if you say that you are a procrastinator, you then take on the identity of someone who cannot get things done. I'm not going to put that on you. So let me change how I said that. You're not a procrastinator. You are a person who has a habit of procrastination. Don't take that on as someone who's a procrastinator. That means that's a part of your identity. But if you have a bad habit of procrastination, that's a little different. We can change our habits, right? Right. Okay, cool. So Oprah says people who are successful know what they want out of life, and then they go get it. That's called being intentional, right? So number one, calling your next level life, but you need to know where you're going. So you need to know what that next level life looks like. Don't worry about who you are today. Who do you want to be? And that is your focus. Number two, be intentional, okay? Everything that you're doing is in service to future you. Every class that I take is in service to future me. Me learning yoga, me learning new things about nutrition, understanding how food metabolizes in the body. That might not even be the right word, but how things are like going to digest and how they're going to manifest in your body if you eat it or drink it or whatever, right? Me learning those things now is going to be in service of me in the future. So number one, call it in. Number two, be intentional. And then lastly, we don't try, we wish, or we want. Let me see if I can break this one down. And honestly, as I look at this list, I'm not sure if I agree with that one anymore. We definitely don't try. We wish or we want. I mean, maybe. I think that depends on where you are in life. I think at that time it served me to say that I don't try, I want. But I feel like now that I've matured in my mindfulness journey, we should adjust that phrase. So let's do that. As I look at it, it feels more like we don't try, we are. That's what that feels like to me now, right? I don't try to do things. I don't try to be the best. I don't try to write a book. I don't try to release a podcast. I don't try to be a coach. These are things that I do. These are things that I am. I am a podcaster. I am a coach. I am a successful, influential mindset coach. I am a chef that is blessed enough to have had experiences that have informed my mindset journey. I am not just a chef who worked in a kitchen. I am a chef that had the privilege and the honor of pouring into children for well over a decade. Some of those children came from affluent households, and some of those children had just been rescued from sex trafficking. So I understand the working with people who are going to have behavioral hiccups, people who have mental hiccups, people who have physical hiccups. I have taught children who were nonverbal in the kitchen. I have taught children who had machines helping them speak in a kitchen. I have been able to be a part of an experience of letting kids who they have 2-3 nurses working on them. These kids cannot talk, but they are mashing a button on a computer that tells me when they put the onion on their tongue what it tastes like, or when they taste sugar, what that tastes like. They are able to communicate with me in a way that most people would not have even taken the time to do it. I've been in the kitchen with people who cause self-harm, and so I have to teach you how to cook without using anything sharp. You can't have a knife. You can't even have a fork. I have to make sure that I count the number of utensils that go out while we are doing a class. I have worked with kids who have been in rehabilitation centers. I have had the incredible pleasure of working with young people at the very bottom and those at the very top. And who am I to judge wherever you are? I'm not, because it allowed me to mature my spirit to the point that I don't care who you are, what your story is. I'm absolutely here to be a part of that journey, to co-voyage with you, to help you rewrite who you are so that your redemptive narrative will go on and inspire somebody else. All of those things that I have done over the last 40 years of my life are now in service to who I am and who I am becoming. And you have to understand that every single part of the process is going to help you be a better you. So who are you becoming? Call that in. Be very intentional about all the things that you are doing in service to that. And then remember that we don't try. Begin to use I am affirmations, even if you're not there yet. There's a whole slew of people on Beyonce's internet that call me Dr. Coach Chef Kim. They were calling me Dr. Coach Chef Kim before I even knew that this particular doctoral program existed. They were all like, there's no way you're not going to be a doctor. There's just no way you're not going to have this title. And I was like, y'all don't even know me. Y'all just people on Beyonce's internet. Like, what is going on? But they called it months ago. And then it rapidly happened for me within the last month that now I'm about to go and start this PhD program, right? We don't try. We do. When I tell people all the time, they're just like, how are you doing this? And I'm like, how are you not? I don't overthink it. If I feel like it's going to cause anxiety in my body, which is what overthinking is. If you are going to cause anxiety in your body, you can also not cause anxiety in your body, and I choose not to do so. Okay? I don't like the discomfort in my body, and so I'm not going to do it. So if I feel myself starting to go, oh my God, what's going to happen? What am I going to do? What if this doesn't work? What if this does work? Oh my gosh, she's just said people should do this, and I should probably do this, but I'm going to take a class in order to be able to do it. Okay, no ma'am. No ma'am. Stop right now. Write it down. Write down whatever the idea was. Write it down. And that may mean you write it on a piece of paper, or you write it on a Post-it note, or you just type it into your phone. I typed it into my phone, okay? I put it into my notes app, and then I moved on about my life. If it is something that I am supposed to be doing in my life, it will come back up. And then it came back up in an email today. And now I'm like, well, damn, okay, this is where we're going to do this. And not only are we going to do it, but I am going to be fully equipped to do it to the best of my ability right now. In this season of my life where I am. What I cannot do is say that, okay, we're going to do this in 4.5 years. When I finish this PhD, then I'll start doing these programs. No, I'm going to learn it. And then we're going to do it. Like that's just how this works. If you're waiting on the perfect time to make something happen, the perfect time is right now. If you're waiting to write the book, the perfect time to write the book is right now. If you are waiting to launch the podcast, as soon as my podcast is over, the perfect time for you to record yours is right then. You caught that? Don't stop listening to my podcast to go do that. Do it as soon as this is over. And I mean it. Like, there's no reason that you're waiting. There's no good reason that you're waiting. Because then it's going to be 3 years from now. And when I ask you, well, you told me you wanted to do this a couple of years ago. Why haven't we done it, beloved? Oh, I'm just waiting for the right time. Okay, but baby, I think I got a whole nother degree since then. What are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your life? That's the question. The real question is, what are you doing in your life that is in service to the life that you want? That is how I do all the things that I do. I look at literally every single thing that I'm doing right now, and how is this serving the woman I'm becoming? How is this serving the people I haven't met yet? How is this, yes, I'm going to do this right now, going to be in service to people who may not even be on the earth yet? I understand that what's in me won't die when I die. It will last. The legacy will be in books. The legacy will be in children quoting me in their research papers 30, 40, and 50 years from now. There are children who have not even been born who will know my name. You have to know what your trajectory is on this earth, and guess who gets to write that story? You are the only author of your journey. You are the only author of your story. And if you're the penman, then you should be taking the time to craft the life of your dreams. You're the author. You might be a supporting character in somebody else's story, but in yours, you're the main character and you're the author. So, what are you writing down that is going to be in service to the person that you are becoming? So when you're thinking about, oh my gosh, how do I level up? What are the things I should be doing? Just 3 things. Number 1, call it in. In order for you to call it in, though, you're going to have to know where you're going. So really, spend some time and dream big. This is not hard. This is literally not hard. Daydream about it, baby. Who do you want to be in the future? Write it down. Write it down. Write down who it is you want to be. So call it in. I'm calling in my next level of life. I'm upgrading my life. And then write out whatever it is you're upgrading to. I was manifesting unlimited access to creative energy, and I absolutely got that. And right now I'm going to manifest something different. So I'll probably rewrite that so that I can look at it some more. Number 2, you're going to be intentional. Be intentional. Do not put yourself in a box. So the way I said I'm open to receiving my forever love, I'm still open, but I'm not actively seeking anyone. But I am open to it. That was a big thing for me. In 2021, I was not open to being in a relationship. I was not open to even exploring anything having to do with that. But now, a couple of years later, I am. I'm very open to it. I'm just not actively seeking it. That's 2 different things, right? If it comes, it comes. And when it comes, great. And until then, I am still safe and secure in who I am as a woman, that I don't need the external validation, nor do I need that in order to feel complete in my life. My life feels very full right now as it is, okay? So be intentional about the things that you want. Say what it is. If it is something personal, if it is you losing weight, if it is you starting a business, if it is you launching a podcast or starting a blog or launching a newsletter or starting a magazine, I don't know, whatever it is, write it down. Be intentional about what it is that you want. And then lastly, remember, we don't try. We are. Start using I am affirmations. I am this, I am this, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am rich, I am that bitch. I told y'all in the last one, go listen to Baby Tate. Those mantras are in my head right now. Like every single time I hear the song in my head, it's a thing. But you have to understand that when we don't try and we do, right? Like we need to do the things. That is how I've been successful, because I do the thing. And this is your opportunity to understand that if you were waiting on somebody to give you permission to do it, I just gave it to you. You now have my permission to go forth and be great, if that's what you need. If somebody else from the outside needs to tell you that, but I would love it if you would just go walk to the mirror. Don't walk into it. Walk to the mirror, look at yourself and say, you have permission to be great. And then go out there and do it. That is literally how you level up. It's not hard. It's a 3-step process. Calling your next level life. Be intentional and don't try. Just do. Until next time, you guys, I want you to know this, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. If no one has told you this today, I love you. I really do. Because this is not a podcast that you have to listen to, and you are making the effort to do so. So I greatly appreciate you. I love you. I'd love to hear from you. So make sure you drop me a line, and I'll talk to you soon.